Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
You know what's wild? For the longest time, Toronto couldn't buy a meeting with a top-tier free agent. Seriously. They'd throw money around, pitch the city, talk about their facilities, and these guys would just choose somewhere else. Every single time. But something's different now. Something's changed, and if you've been paying attention to what's happening north of the border, you already know what I'm talking about. The Blue Jays just went on an absolute spending spree. We're talking $337 million committed this offseason. That's not a typo. $337 million. And here's the kicker. That's over $130 million more than any other team has spent this winter. Let me say that again because it's honestly shocking. They've outspent the next closest team by more than $130 million. That's insane money. That's we're not messing around anymore money. So what changed? Well, winning helps. Toronto made it all the way to the World Series last year, and that run completely shifted the narrative around this franchise. Suddenly, players want to be there. Suddenly, Toronto isn't just another team throwing money around hoping someone bites. They're legitimate contenders with momentum, with a winning culture, and yeah, with a whole lot of cash to back it up. Let's break down what they've actually done because it's pretty remarkable. First off, Shane Bieber exercised his $16 million player option to come back. That's huge. You've got an ace who believes in what's happening there, who wants to be part of whatever they're building. Then they went out and grabbed Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease, one of the most electric arms in baseball, the kind of pitcher who can completely shut down an opposing lineup on any given night. That move alone would have been a successful offseason for most teams. But they didn't stop there. They brought in Cody Ponce and Tyler Rogers to bolster the bullpen. Smart moves, depth moves, the kind of signings that championship teams make. And then, just when you thought they were done, they went international. Kazuma Okamoto from Japan. This is a guy who's been crushing it overseas, and Toronto swooped in and made it happen. The aggressive approach isn't just about spending money. It's about identifying talent from every possible avenue and going after it relentlessly. And guess what? They're probably not done. According to reports, they're still heavily involved in the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes. Kyle Tucker, who most people consider the best player available in this entire free agent class. Can you imagine adding Tucker to this roster? Can you imagine what that lineup looks like with Tucker in the middle of it? That's not just competitive. That's terrifying for everyone else in the American League. There's also talk about re-signing Bo Bichette. Now that's interesting because Bichette's been with the organization. He's a fan favorite, and keeping him would signal to everyone that Toronto isn't just buying talent from outside. They're committed to keeping their own guys too. That matters. That sends a message to the locker room and to future free agents that this is a place where you can build something long-term. Last season caught a lot of people by surprise. The Blue Jays weren't supposed to win the American League. They weren't on most people's preseason lists as serious contenders, but they went out and did it anyway. They exceeded expectations, got hot at the right time, and rode that momentum all the way through October. Now they're entering this season as one of the favorites. Not a dark horse, not a maybe, a legitimate favorite to win it all. Meanwhile, let's talk about what's happening on the other side of things. The Dodgers, who just won back-to-back World Series championships, went out and signed Edwin Diaz to a 3-year, $69 million deal. Edwin Diaz, one of the absolute best closers in baseball, the guy who walks out to Timmy Trumpet playing Narco live. Yeah, that's now happening in Los Angeles. The Dodgers looked at their bullpen, identified the 9th inning as a need, and immediately addressed it with the best option available. That's what championship organizations do. But even the Dodgers aren't done. They're still looking for another bat, probably an outfielder. They're in the mix for Cody Bellinger and, you guessed it, Kyle Tucker. So Toronto's got competition for Tucker, and it's coming from the defending champs. If the Dodgers can't work out a short-term, high-average annual value deal, they're apparently ready to pivot to a trade. They've got options, they've got resources, and they've got that championship pedigree that makes everyone want to play there. Here's what's fascinating about this moment in baseball. We're about a month away from spring training. Pitchers and catchers will be reporting soon, and there are still massive names on the free agent market. Kyle Tucker's still out there. Teams are still making moves. The landscape is still shifting. And when you've got Toronto spending like there's no tomorrow, and the Dodgers reloading after consecutive championships, you know this season is going to be absolutely loaded with talent and storylines. What Toronto's doing is more than just throwing money around, though. It's about finally converting resources into results. It's about capitalizing on a World Series run and using that momentum to build something sustainable. For years, they couldn't get over that hump. They couldn't convince the top guys that Toronto was the place to be. Weather, border issues, whatever the excuse was, it always seemed like they came up short. But not anymore. The narrative has completely flipped. Players see what's happening there and they want in. The Blue Jays have positioned themselves as the team to beat heading into spring training. They've got the pitching with Bieber and Cease leading the rotation. They've got bullpen depth with the additions they made. If they land Tucker or bring back Bichette, that lineup becomes one of the deepest in baseball. And most importantly, they've got belief. They've got a clubhouse that knows what it takes to get to the World Series because they just did it. That experience, that confidence, you can't buy that. Well, I guess technically they kind of did, but you know what I mean. As we sit here in early January, watching the hot stove continue to burn, Toronto stands out as the biggest story. They're not waiting around. They're not hoping things work out. They're making things happen. They're forcing the conversation. And honestly, after years of being overlooked, after years of having doors slammed in their faces, it's pretty cool to see them finally breaking through and becoming the destination they always believed they could be. This season's going to be wild. The Blue Jays are loaded. The Dodgers are still the Dodgers. And somewhere in between all of this, Kyle Tucker's going to make a decision that could completely reshape the playoff picture. Baseball's back soon, and if this offseason is any indication, we're in for one heck of a ride.